Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Benavides, and this is the first of several check-in videos that I will be posting throughout our course. So today is September 10th, 2024, and this is Social Work 674, Spirituality and Social Work. The purpose of my check-in videos is to do just that, check in with a class, see in the purpose of the videos is to really help you be successful in the course. And I discuss, your discussion posts, your upcoming assignments, and overall talk about concepts related to the course, as well as answer any questions that I might be getting from students in the course through emails that I feel, I'll answer some questions via email that I feel that the whole class might benefit from knowing the answer to. So I might bring up like, oh, this was asked by a classmate of yours, and I think some of you may have the same question, so here is the answer. So that's the goal and the purpose of these check-in videos. So this week we are in week 3, and we're focusing on spiritually sensitive social work practice, self-reflection. Before we do that, I just want to talk about a few other things. First and foremost, I really enjoyed watching the introduction videos and getting to know each of you. You're putting a face with a name and getting to know you a little bit better. Hopefully everybody had an opportunity to watch my introduction video themselves. And so that way, you get to know a little bit about me and sort of my my educational professional background and my research interests. And as you'll see, my research interests focus around spirituality. So it was great to see your introduction videos as well. For the spirituality and religion week 2 discussion, I was really impressed with the thoughtfulness behind the discussion posts. Several of you, brought up that the concepts of spirituality and religion being separate constructs was new to you, because maybe in your own life they were one and the same, and that's okay too. And as you learned, hopefully, from the readings and the videos, that for some people, religion and spirituality are one and the same. And for some people might identify as spiritual but not religious. Some people might identify as religious and not spiritual. And that's part of when we are and some people might identify as neither, and that's okay too. But part of, when we're working with clients, it's simple as, and when we talk about assessments later on in the course, it can be just as simple as asking somebody if they identify as spiritual or religious or religious. And if they do, then a follow-up question would be, if they say that yes, they identify as spiritual and or religious, a follow-up question would be like, would you want to integrate this work? Would you want to integrate your beliefs and practices and traditions from your spiritual and or religious religion into our work together? And that if they say yes, then we move forward with probably a more comprehensive assessment. If they say no, then that's fine. Same thing with the first question. If you ask, do they identify as spiritual and or religious? And if they say no, that's where we stop. So it can be just as simple as asking that as part of like an assessment. And I think that's really important. So later on, it's important that we do that and then respect of a client's response to either of those two questions, whether they want to move forward or not. Later on in this course, we will be talking about more comprehensive spiritual assessments. So, but I think, several of you, Sherelle brought up the point that many social workers feel unqualified to discuss spirituality and or religion with their clients, and that's, the research has shown that that is something most social work practitioners did not feel like they were prepared in their undergrad or graduate courses to address spirituality and or social work with their clients in social work practice. And hopefully this class will help you feel prepared, because it is a really important part of a person's experience. You know, so for many, it's a really important part of their lived experience, of their development, of how they, it can be a source of strength, of support, can also be a source of trauma for others. So it's really something that if a client wants to address, that it has to be something that we must be open and not shying away from, because we don't feel prepared to address, um, you know, these issues that clients might want to discuss in terms of their religion and or spirituality. So, and then Jalaya brought up that for her, part of, you know, being in this profession is her spirituality helps her. And that's also something that that we'll talk about later on in the course, in terms of the difference, you know, between you know, how we can, how we are, how we can live our own beliefs and practices as social workers in a way that does not bias our work, or convert us into, or where we're trying to convert our clients, or proselytizing to our clients our own beliefs and values and practices. So for many individuals in this profession, their spirituality and or religious beliefs and practices are very important to them. And that is how, for many, they're able to be in this type of profession, right? And so prayers, meditation, whatever it may be for you as a social worker, is very important. It's and that we would consider an implicit spiritual practices that are things that we might do as social workers, with, you know, in the confines of our own beliefs and practices, in our private spaces, things that we do to nourish ourselves spiritually or religiously, and or religiously. I have to keep adding the and or, because for some it can be both. But that you do as a social worker, as a human being, to move forward in this world, and that would be implicit. Explicit, we want to be careful with not proselytizing or trying to convert our clients, or making a client session about our own spiritual beliefs and practices and not theirs. Because when we're working with clients, that explicit interventions along spirituality should focus and be based on the client's beliefs and practices, not our own. And when we use when we use the skill of disclosure, and we disclose anything about our lives, including our spiritual and or religious beliefs or practices, or that we are not spiritual and or that we're not religious, that we do so only when that is the best way to bring about a conversation with a client, or it is the best way to handle a certain situation, and there's no other way to bring up this topic or address this situation unless you use the skill of disclosure. I just wanted to say those things. So kudos for everybody for your discussion posts. This week, there's of course your learning materials. If you click on here, it's going to tell you the readings, the videos, podcasts, all of those things for this week. The week 3 discussion is on the 5 guiding principles for spiritually sensitive social work practice. So for this discussion, you're being asked to reflect on the principles that are discussed by Kanda, by the Kanda reading, which are value, clarity, respect, client-centeredness, inclusivity, and creativity. Reflect on each principle and discuss how you will enhance your personal and or professional growth in each area respectively, not respectfully, respectfully as well, but respectively, how you will grow in each of these 5 guiding principles that Kanda addresses in the readings for this week. You are to follow up with at least one classmate, and in your response to your classmate, provide your classmate with feedback on how they can enhance their own personal and or professional growth in one specific example. As your initial discussion response is due this Thursday, and a response to at least one classmate by Sunday. And unless, so always make sure to look at the guidelines so you can make sure that typically it's between the initial post is between 200 and 500 words, 200 and 500 words due Thursday, but sometimes that can change. So really important to look at the specific assignment guidelines for each discussion post. So as part of this week's discussion post is, to look at the 5 guiding principles that Kanda Furman and Kanda discuss in their reading. One of them is values clarity. And so I present this questions to you as a individual reflection that I encourage, all students, whether you're in this class or not, to consider as a values clarity and individual reflection. The first question is, do you identify as religious, as spiritual, as both, neither? Many of you were talking about not have in your week 2 discussion on spirituality and religion, not knowing or not having grown up understanding that there was 2 separate concepts and that people might have seen these as 2 separate concepts. And so it's really important for each of us, and I don't just say you, I think I do this myself, constant reflection and introspection so that we can continue growing and learning about who we are and how we change, because we do grow and we do change. And so maybe if at one point we might identify as religious and at another point we don't. So it's important that we continuously do these kind of values clarity. And in this case, it's a spirituality, religious values clarity. So it's important to think about, am I religious? Am I spiritual? Am I both? Am I neither? And that there's no right or wrong answers here. It's important for you to understand yourself. What values, beliefs, practices, traditions, etc. stem from your answer above? That's really important too. What are the things that come from either identifying as religious or spiritual or both or neither? What comes from that? What are the things that how do you live your life based on the answer to number 1? And how do these values, beliefs, and practices influence? Oh, that's what I'm saying right now. How do they influence how you live your life? How does it impact how you live your life? And it's really important to do this sort of assessment, reflection of yourself. I think that it takes a few minutes to jot these ideas down, or maybe just internally answer these questions for yourself as an activity to help you to understand yourself more. And then I want you to think about, Kanda talks about how our own limitations, biases, prejudices, and negative attitudes need to be identified so that one, as Kanda states, so that one can grow beyond them. So in addition to understanding our these, thinking about, are we religious? Are we spiritual? How do these values, where do they stem from? Or what values stem from this, and how do we live our life based on these values, beliefs, and practices? The next step is then, what are some biases that come out from, so we all have biases. We all have prejudices. We all have beliefs about others that are maybe influenced by our own values and practices. And so I want you to then take some time to think about, what are some biases and negative attitudes that we might have about religion, spirituality, other people's religious, different spiritual traditions, about people that identify as neither, or people that identify as religious or spiritual. Think about those so that you can, this can help you grow beyond them. All right, that's all for this week. Take care.